Council of Eminent Persons Chairman and former Finance Minister Tun Daim Zainuddin says the new economic policy needs to evolve into a national development policy that is focused on a needs-based approach as opposed to one that is race-based. Daim points out that although the NEP has had its successes, the policy is now rife with shortcomings and abuses, and that Bumiputra-based policies merely enrich those who take advantage of the loopholes at the expense of those who need help. He says Malaysia must also acknowledge that although the Bumiputras are indeed disproportionately represented amongst the poor, other races too are deeply affected by poverty and low standards of living. Therefore, he argues it is time for a new approach that will simply aid those who need help the most. Rakuten Trade has cut its FBM KLCI year-end target to 1,720 from 1,760 previously, citing weak corporate earnings growth as well as external headwinds. Kenny Yee, head of research at Rakuten Trade, explains the revision was based on 16 times the market price-to-earnings ratio. He was speaking at a media briefing on the market outlook for the second half of 2019 today. On the corporate earnings growth front, Yee lowered the forecast to a 0.5% contraction versus the 2.3% growth seen previously. He expects it to be mainly dragged down by the negative performance in the plantation sector. However, he does see value emerging in the KLCI following the recent sell-down and expects foreign funds to take advantage of the cheap ringgit and the reasonable valuation of local stocks. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng says the government is unlikely to introduce new tax measures in Budget 2020 come October. As for inheritance tax, Lim says that is definitely off the table, at least for next year. What the government is looking at for Budget 2020 is the inclusion of contingency measures to insulate Malaysia from the potential adverse impact arising from the protracted US-China trade war. He says while there is some expectation that the trade dispute would end by the end of this year, Malaysia still needs to have some sort of contingency. Shares of Tasik Corp rose by as much as 5% after Singapore-listed Hong Leong Asia raised its offer for the cement maker to RM5.80 from RM5.50 per share. Tasik rose to an intraday high of RM5.84. It ended the day 4.3% higher at RM5.79. Hong Leong Asia controls about 80.1% of Tasik via two wholly owned subsidiaries, HL Cement Malaysia and Rich Star. It wants to take loss-making Tasik private. The revised offer shall remain open for acceptances until 5 p.m. on August 19th, which is the final closing date. The terms of the revised offer are final. Hong Leong Asia is part of Hong Leong Group, which is controlled by Tycoon Tan Sri Kwek Len Chan. Petronas says it has no intention of acquiring any stake in India's Bina oil refinery. Reuters had reported last Monday that Petronas and a consortium led by Japan's JXTG Holdings were eyeing a stake in the plant in central India. It said the plant is capable of processing 156,000 barrels per day of crude oil. In response, the oil giant says while India is a key market, it has no intention of buying into the refinery.